Welcome to All Things Marketing Podcast, the podcast that talks all things marketing for both franchise and multi-location marketing leaders. ATM is brought to you by PureDriven. We'll show you how to turn your brand into a money-making machine. Here's your host, Steve Rockwood.
Hello and welcome to Franchise ATM. My name is Steve Rockwood. I am the marketing manager here at PureDriven. Today, I'm going to give you 5 simple LinkedIn marketing tips. These are all things that I've learned over the last year while really focusing on my LinkedIn marketing strategy. So these are going to be relevant to your brand as well as your personal LinkedIn account. So these are basically relevant to your brand as a person and your brand as a company or whoever you may work for or whatever company you may own. All right, so the first tip I have for you is update your profile. You would be amazed at how many people made their LinkedIn profile when they were in college or when LinkedIn first came out. They made the profile. They might have a picture on there, and it's probably them from 10 years ago, or they just might not even have a picture. So update your profile. Take a nice picture, put it on your LinkedIn profile. Update your work and your jobs so that it actually reflects where you currently work and what jobs you've done in the past. You don't need to go super into detail on your old jobs, but make sure to put the relevant points as to what you want people to know you did and what you want people to know your expertise lies in. So, for instance, let's say I'm 27, right? I'm 27 years old. I taught tennis as my first big job. Like my main job when I was in college was teaching tennis. So I have tennis on my LinkedIn, but I don't have this huge description of what I did anymore because that job's pretty old. That was, I only stopped doing it about a year or two ago, but I did it for 8 years. So that job's pretty old as far as my actual roles go because I've been here at PureDriven for 5 years now. So that job, I kind of slimmed down what I did. And every time I add a new job, I kind of add what I did, but then I slim down the past one. Or else your profile gets huge and you have this list of 20 jobs you've had and you have all this info that people really don't want to process. So put the relevant points to each one so that people can get it quickly and they can see kind of where your expertise lies and what you're really good at and what you're passionate about. Make sure you update the rest of your profile. There's a million different things on there. It changes all the time. So even if you know you've updated your LinkedIn recently, go back in there and see if there's anything new because so much changes so fast on all these social media platforms. Number 2, don't be afraid to connect with other people, especially within your industry. I know when LinkedIn first came out, it was one of those things where they said, if you can't shake the person's hand or you haven't met them, don't connect with them. That's no longer the case. Social media kind of took over what LinkedIn is. It's a lot more of a connection-wide thing. People just connect with each other so they can talk, right? So I get probably 5 to 10 connection requests per day just from random people that are connected to other people within my industry, and they know that we have relevant interests. Podcasters connect with me all the time, which is awesome. So as long as your profile is good and you're posting content that's relevant to your audience, you're going to get connection requests from people that are interested in you, and you should do the same. So maybe you're one of those people that connect with me out of the blue, and that's awesome because then we could get to start a conversation. If you've seen guests on this podcast before, they're all from LinkedIn. Every single guest I've had on this podcast is from connecting with them on LinkedIn and then having a conversation and then inviting them on the podcast. So LinkedIn is great for making connections and meeting new people. Post content you enjoy. You don't necessarily need to post your own content all the time, but post content you enjoy and always make sure to source the content. There's a lot of stolen content on social media these days. At least source it, but post stuff that is relevant to you, that you enjoy, that you learn from or get inspired from. A lot of people post memes and things on LinkedIn now, which some people frown upon, some people really like. It's totally up to you. If that's the content you enjoy and you think is relevant to your industry, I say go for it. Post what you enjoy, all right? So source your own content, source other content. Just post stuff that's relevant to you, your brand, your industry. Now, that being said, usually for brand accounts, you're going to want to stick to your own content. So if you're not sure how LinkedIn works, you have a personal account, and then you also have your company pages or company accounts as well. So just like Facebook has a brand page, it's the same thing with LinkedIn. I would stick to mostly your company's own content on the LinkedIn. This can be people within your company. You can be posting pictures and bios of the people that work there. You can be posting pictures and bios of your customers, your testimonials, your podcasts, your blogs, all that fun stuff. And then on your personal account, you can share that so that more people can see it. But I do recommend kind of keeping your brand account mostly on brand, whereas your personal LinkedIn, you can go a little bit off every once in a while. Number 4 is interact with content. Go comment on other people's stuff. Go like it. Go tell them what you liked about it or what you learned about it, or add to it. If someone makes 5 simple LinkedIn marketing tips as a podcast and then puts it on LinkedIn, tell them you enjoyed tip number 4, where he talked about interacting with content. And then I'll know that, hey, you listened to it and you're going to interact with my content. And then you can even add something too. You can say, as a 6th tip, I learned so-and-so, whatever it may be. Like maybe you're a photographer, right? And you say, when you're talking about updating your profile and making having it have a good picture, make sure to not use a green screen, or make sure to have a natural background, or whatever it may be. I'm just making stuff up, by the way. Please don't take that as real advice. But if you're a photographer and you see that and you listen to it and you like it and you want to give some more advice, do that in the comments. And then people might see that you're a photographer and connect with you. So there's a million different ways to interact with content. They even have little emoji faces now that you can use to interact, just like Facebook, where you can put a heart or a cheer and all that fun stuff. The final thing I'm going to say about LinkedIn marketing tips is respond to your direct messages. Now, some of them are pure spam, and you don't need to respond to those. Some of them, I get podcast promotion all the time. It's clearly just spam that they send to every single person with podcast in their title, and that's totally fine. I just skip over it. It's just like a spam email. I don't mind it. I'm not going to do anything about it. Just skip over it, right? But some people will actually message you, and it might be a little salesy in nature, but they'll be open to a conversation for the most part, and you can actually get valuable insights from them, even if you're not interested in their product. Or you might get them on your podcast, or they might know someone that could actually use your services. We've actually had that happen before, where I talked to someone on LinkedIn, kind of out of the blue. They sent me a message, and we just kind of talked, but then they actually knew someone that needed a service that we provided. And we ended up getting a lead and business from that, just from a random conversation. So it's great to talk to these people, especially if you might cross paths with them at some point. They might go to the same trade shows that your company does. And it's nice to have an ally. Even if you're not in the same space, it's nice to have an ally there so that they can introduce you to people, or they can introduce you to people online across LinkedIn and all these different things. So make sure to be cordial and respond to DMs when they're not just pure spam, but you might actually be able to have a conversation or at least introduce yourself to someone. All right, so those are my 5 simple LinkedIn marketing tips. I hope they help you, and I wish you luck in your LinkedIn journey. That is all we have time for today on Franchise ATM, and I will see you all next time. Have a good one.
You just listened to All Things Marketing Podcast. Make sure to subscribe to the podcast to catch every new episode every day. Want to be a guest on the show? Sign up at PureDriven.com/guest. See you tomorrow here at the ATM.